Test 2. This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to part 1. Part 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between a travel company employee and a customer. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Great Countryside Holidays. Jax speaking. Can I help you?
Yes, I hope so. I've heard that your travel agency provides holidays in the countryside.
That's right. We've specialized in countryside holidays with many years of experience, so we can ensure that we provide perfect holidays with several destinations.
That's great. My husband and I are planning a countryside holiday with the whole family, and I'm calling just for the accommodation.
Okay. Where are you going to spend your holiday? There are some excellent accommodations on our list in different destinations.
Well, last year we spent our holiday in the southern part of the city, but this time we'd like to live in the northeast. I have a friend who's just returned and had great fun there.
Okay. And what about the time of your holiday?
It'll be the first week of September, which we think will be off-peak travel time. At peak season, the attractions are always crowded with people, and hotels or restaurants might overcharge you, so we try to avoid that.
Yes, arranging your holiday during off-peak time is wise, as you can enjoy the attractions and facilities better.
That's right.
Then how long are you going to stay?
Our holiday will last 3 days, and we will stay there for a weekend.
Okay, that's the location and time of the holiday. Then let's turn to the accommodation itself. Do you have any particular requirements for housing?
Yes. The first priority we've considered is, of course, a quiet environment so that both young and old can have good rest during our stay.
No problem.
Then we'd prefer a cottage on a good beach where my children can play with great fun. My little daughter loves collecting shells and building sandcastles.
Okay, I'll take that down. A seaside cottage is excellent. It also means secluded nights and fresh sea air.
Right. Oh, another thing is, I'm kind of a foodie, and whenever I visit a new place, I'm always desperate to try the local cuisine. So if possible, I'd prefer a good restaurant not far away from where we live.
No problem. Tasting the local cuisine is one of the delights of the holiday.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Then what about the actual room? Are there any other requirements?
Our family has 5 members, so we'll need a cottage with 3 living rooms and a separate bathroom with a shower.
Okay, 3 living rooms and a separate bathroom with a shower.
Oh, another important thing is, my father got his backache last week and climbing stairs might cause trouble. I'm concerned that he might not recover from it during our holiday, so there shouldn't be any stairs in the cottage, I'm afraid.
No stairs. Okay, I've taken that down. Do you need a balcony?
Actually, it's not necessary for us, but if possible, we need a garden, where the children can play.
No problem. Several cottages cater to your need.
Great. Well, that's all our needs for the accommodation.
Okay, I've written down all the details, and I'll contact you as soon as I find the one which can satisfy your needs.
Thank you.
I'll need your personal details. What's your surname?
Cheffins. That's Cheffins.
Okay, Mrs. Cheffins.
And my telephone number is 01924777285.
All right. Before we finish, I'd like to know where you heard about us. Did your friend tell you?
Actually, not. I saw the ad of your travel agency in a magazine called Countryside Living.
I see. That's a popular magazine.
Yes. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Mrs. Cheffins. Bye.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 1.
Part 2. You will hear an electronic toy company manager talking to a small group of new temporary staff who are starting work at the company. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Janet Parker, and I'm the Human Resources Manager of this company. Thank you for joining us and coming to this training session, which I hope will help you quickly learn about our company and know what you will do in your position. First, I'll briefly introduce the history of our company. We're quite an old company, specializing in electric toys for more than 30 years. The founder, Ronald Stevenson, got the idea of establishing his own company when he finished his apprenticeship. With the support of his grandfather, he got enough start-up capital and the company was set up and succeeded in a short period. To satisfy the demands of customers, we've expanded the premises considerably over the past years, and the number of staff members has grown up on a regular basis. Recently, we found the sales of our products creeping up very slowly, and we've decided to introduce new electronic toys to give that a boost. So we have to look for more workers to help us. And that's the reason why you are here. The first week may be pretty challenging, as there will be a lot of new information, but don't worry too much about trying to remember everything. The important thing is to check with someone if you're unsure what to do. According to the contract, you'll be expected to work here for 6 months. Some of you asked me if there is a possibility for you to be employed as our full-time member. I can't give you a definite answer now. It'll depend on your job performance during the employment and whether we have job vacancies then. About 200 full-time staff members in our company, 70% of whom are responsible for sending out goods, while the minority of jobs are in the manufacturing line. You will work in different departments according to our needs, which I'll explain to you in detail later. Working in our company, you'll be impressed by our modern machinery and production methods, advanced skills and friendly working atmosphere. However, I must tell you one thing which is not so pleasant. Because the manager of the payroll department is on sick leave these days, I'm afraid that you won't get paid on time this month. But don't worry too much, it'll be solved very soon.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
In the second part of this training session, I'll explain what you will be responsible for in the following working days. There are 5 positions and you'll be working in different departments. As I've mentioned before, we're in urgent need of someone who can deal with the salary problem, so our staff can get paid as soon as possible. And that's the primary job for the first person. Then, the second of you will be working in the manufacturing line to help develop new products. And I'm sure you will be pretty busy in the following days. The third person will work on the 6th floor, and your main job is to look after the mechanical side. It includes checking equipment daily to ensure they are working correctly and doing some repair work if necessary. Without your help, many processes like manufacturing or packaging won't work well. Then, the 4th person will work in the technology department to deal with problems related to software and hardware. We're getting new laptops next week, and you must install new programs. And the last of you will work in the after-sales service department. You are expected to keep a long-term relationship with customers, including collecting feedback regularly, dealing with customer complaints, enhancing customer satisfaction, etc. Okay, now that's all I want to share with you today. Are there any questions?
That is the end of Part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 2.
Part 3. You will hear 2 first-year students, Rosie and Martin, discussing a project about sports shoes they are working on. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26. OK, Martin, before we plan our presentation for the project, let's discuss what we've done so far.
OK, Rosie. When the tutor gave us the theme of sports shoes to base our project on, I was not all that interested, but I'm starting to get into it. I've pretty much finished the research stage.
Me too. At first, I had no idea what to write for the essay, so I asked some senior students for advice, and they gave me some websites to look at, where I found some articles on sports shoes and got some ideas.
Yes, I searched for pictures of sports shoes online and applied them in my research. It's beneficial.
Right.
According to the project's requirements, we have to find an example for the research, and I've just completed this part.
What example do you use? You said you'd like to borrow a sample from the tutor.
That was my first thought, but I realized maybe the tutor wanted us to do our own thing, not copy. Then I cut off my old sports shoes and separated them into different parts so that I could make a careful study of the internal structure.
It's a good idea.
Then I drew a diagram which could show precisely each part of the shoes. Through the research, I've found that sports shoes nowadays have significantly improved.
What do you mean?
For example, designers these days use better raw materials, which are not only durable, but also make the skin of feet breathe more easily. Moreover, they also take into account the factor of foot shape. But they've ignored the foot movement, which is essential for sports people.
Interesting. I think I can add this to the essay.
OK. Given that you've got most ideas for the essay so far, I think you can mainly finish the written sections of the project, and I can take care of every detail of the presentation. Does this appeal to you?
I'm OK with that. I prefer written work to give in a presentation.
That's good. What do we need to do next?
Well, according to the plan, we will give a presentation next Wednesday, and before that, we'll have to finish the questionnaire left by the tutor, and I think we can handle it this weekend.
OK. Do we have to do some face-to-face interviews?
The tutor said that would be for the next assignment, not this one.
OK. Then about the presentation. I remember in the last tutorial, the tutor advised us to use some slides to make the presentation more attractive. But I'll also need a whiteboard because I like writing or drawing when necessary.
We can ask our tutor for help. He might have one and can lend it to us.
Right.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30. Well, Martin, let's go through the draft of the essay together and see whether there are any changes we have to make.
OK, Rosie. I think the summary gives a brief and precise description of the project's main ideas. Where will it go?
I'd like to put it at the end of the essay. What do you think?
Good idea. And I think the result part describes in detail what the research has achieved. But I'm wondering whether it should go directly behind the part of the research, as they are closely related.
Yes, I think that'd be better. I'll move this part. Then, the conclusion, I'm wondering whether I've used too many technical terms, which other students might struggle with.
You're right. Not everyone will be familiar with the subject,
so I think we could replace them with straightforward explanations.
I agree. Lastly, the discussion. I like this part as it presents a series of questions that we can talk about with other students after the presentation.
Yes, but I think the questions look messy and need to be better sequenced. Maybe we could arrange them in a list.
Okay, that'd be better.
All right. That's all about the essay. Now let's talk about the presentation. That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear part of a biology lecture about an animal called the African clawed frog. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'd like to look at another type of amphibian, the African clawed frog, whose Latin name is Xenopus laevis. Its name is derived from the 3 short claws on each hind foot, which it uses to tear apart its food. The Latin word Xenopus means strange foot, and laevis means smooth. I'll start with a general description. The African clawed frog is a species of frog that can be commonly found in the eastern and southern parts of Africa. They have a flattened head and body, but no tongue or external ears. As the Latin name suggests, African clawed frogs have smooth skin, unlike the toad, whose skin always has a rough texture. The body of African clawed frogs is covered with mucus, which can give their sensitive skin protection, thus playing an indispensable role in their survival. Male and female African clawed frogs can be easily distinguished through several characteristics, and the major one is their size. Generally, male frogs are about half as big as females. Specifically, female frogs are usually 4.5 inches long, weighing around 7 ounces, while males are generally 2.5 inches long and 2 ounces heavy. Then, let's turn to their habitats. African clawed frogs are entirely aquatic frogs, so they live in water all their life, whether they are tadpoles or adult frogs. Although they can live in a wide range of freshwater environments, they particularly like still water instead of fast-flowing streams. During the summer, African clawed frogs are mainly found in warm rivers, and during the rainy season, they tend to move into flooded forests. In the wild, African clawed frogs are highly adaptable to changes in the environment around them, whether in oases or glacier-covered lakes. Besides, they can even survive in water with high salt levels. It is because African clawed frogs have a unique physiological mechanism in their body that could automatically regulate the balance of water inside and outside their body. In dry weather, African clawed frogs always burrow themselves into mud, where they can survive for more than a year. They are incredibly hardy and long-lived, with an average lifespan of 5 to 15 years. Some are even recorded to have lived for 20 to 25 years. However, African clawed frogs are susceptible to the pollution of the water, even though they are not listed as endangered species. Now let's talk about the diet of African clawed frogs. They are carnivores that like hunting insects, spiders, worms, fish, etc. African clawed frogs depend on the sense of smell to detect their prey. They first use the claws on their hind feet to tear pieces of ample food. Then the front feet, which are not webbed, play an important role in feeding. African clawed frogs use their front feet to push food into their mouths, and meanwhile a distinctive pump system is used to draw or suck food in their mouths. So we can see African clawed frogs are voracious predators and can quickly adapt to many habitats. Therefore, in some parts of the world, African clawed frogs act like invasive species, which will negatively affect other species in the freshwater ecosystems. The evidence shows that they have devastated the populations of native frogs and other creatures by eating their young. As a result, African clawed frogs are illegal to own, transport, or sell without any permit in some states of America, like California, Washington, Arizona, etc., where African clawed frogs have been seen as a type of pest. However, it's legal to own African clawed frogs in Canada. But not many people know that African clawed frogs are also used in medicine. As we mentioned before, the skin of African clawed frogs is covered with mucus, which has properties of antibiotic. This chemical can help kill bacteria and cure the infection, and is widely used by both the medical profession and the general public. So we shouldn't ignore the medical value of African clawed frogs.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you will now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.